Okay, this is David with PYParadise.com, and we are going to show you how to make our root tabs, aka root tabs. There's not a really big secret to it, so we're not going to keep it super big secret. Anyway, these are clay base tabs, and this is all the ingredients right here. It's really easy to make if you have all the stuff. If you don't have the stuff, then you can just buy our root tabs. That would be nice too. So, anyway. And what we're doing is we're putting in a cup of clay. This recipe is just one that we came up with. Like, it's not set in stone. You can make your own recipe however you want, but this is just what works for us and what we use. And it's pretty simple. So we got one cup of clay. This is powdered Carbondale red clay. I got it from Axner.com. You can use pottery clay also. Just make sure you don't get a polymer type clay because it doesn't break down since it's synthetic. Okay, we got 1 cup of the clay powder. The clay powder also makes it a lot easier for us to mix the tabs up to make sure that they've got a good even amount of nutrients in all of the different tabs. And this is Plantex CSM-B, which is a micro mix, and we're going to put 1 cup of that in also. And this has all your different micros. It has iron in it and all that. Get in there. And this isn't an exact science by any means, since it's just to feed your plants. So that looks good. Okay. That's CSM-B, and that was 1 cup. I get my dry fertilizers from Greenleaf Aquariums, but there's a lot of different places, Bob's Tropical Plants, all different places, so pretty much all of them are all really good, so just shop around and figure out which one's got the best price. Now we're putting in some KNO3, which is potassium nitrate. This is this fertilizer stuff that is used to feed the plants the nitrogen. It's also like really, they've got all these different things about shipping large amounts of this stuff because I guess people make bombs out of them or something, but we're not doing that today. Okay, and so we did 4 tablespoons of that, which was a 1/4 cup, and then we're going to do a 1/4 cup of Dolomite, which this is powdered Dolomite that I also got from Axner. And the chemical properties of this are it's calcium and magnesium. So this basically, like in some other recipes, you'll see them adding, regular calcium and then also like Epsom salt or magnesium. But this has got both in it, and I think it's got more calcium than magnesium, but the ratio is really not that important. The next one is PO4, which is monopotassium phosphate, the KH2 PO4, and we're putting 2 tablespoons of that in. Now I've got this tablespoon measure. Couldn't find a regular tablespoon measure, so we're just going to stick with this. It's 1, 2, 3, and some people talk about the precipitation issue with using phosphate and iron together, because there's iron in the clay and also in the micros, and it is an issue. It does precipitate, but it's not that big of a deal, and plus it's already in your substrate, so it's not floating around and causing a cloudiness or anything like that. It should be buried and out of the way. So I think the extra PO4 helps a lot in plant growth, so it's definitely something that we want to put in there. The last thing that we got is 1 tablespoon of potassium sulfate. This is K2SO4. And we're going to put 1 tablespoon, so that's half, and that's it. That's it. And that's all the different ingredients that go into the root tabs. And then we're just going to mix it with our handy dandy mixer here. It's a plastic fork. It works. And we're just going to mix it really good, and once we get this well incorporated, it shouldn't have any streaks in it. It should all look really like a uniform color, and that'll tell me that it's all mixed really well, because I don't want it to I don't want to have uneven root tabs. You know, I want to make sure I know what's in each one of them, so I got to mix it really, really well. And this is hard to do when you use like the wet clay, like the Amico pottery clay and stuff, because the clay is wet, so it doesn't. So you can't just mix it like this. You've got to kind of fold in all the ingredients, so you've got to you're more hit and miss on what's in each one. But yeah, so let's fast forward about 30 seconds. Okay, so we're back, and now I've just got some water in a cup, and I'm gonna add water to this slowly to hydrate it and get it to be a more malleable material. And you got to be really careful when you're adding the water, because it only takes a very little bit to get everything together. So, and you don't want to overdo it, because then you have this soupy mess. You got to wait for it to dry out a little bit so you can work with it. Just slowly mixing it. And you just really want it to put just enough for it to come together. If you overdo it, no big deal. Don't dump the water off, because you're going to be dumping nutrients off too. Just leave it sitting somewhere, like either in the sun or just on the stove somewhere. Obviously don't heat it up, but just let it evaporate on its own, and it'll eventually thicken up by itself. But it is a pain to do it that way. I mean, I've had some that took days to dry out a little bit. So if you do it right the first time, you don't have to worry about it so much. But you see the consistency now is getting really mealy, and it's and you can see there's still like wet spots in there, so that's why I'm not going to add any more water yet until it starts looking dry. It's looking a little bit dry now. I'm going to add a little bit more water. Hopefully that wasn't too much. That's good. Yeah, so now it's all really well incorporated. It does look a little bit wet, but it's okay. It's not really bad. So, okay, now we're going to take this plastic sheet, and we're going to just lay it out on this, just like that. Get this out of the way. And this plastic sheet is basically just so I can press it out without it sticking too much. It's still going to stick some, but it's better this way. And once it dries, like if you do this on wax paper, it will stick to the wax paper and it'll rip it all up, so it makes it a pain. But with this plastic, it seems to come off a lot easier. And right now I'm just kind of evening it out. And once we get it evened out, then I'm going to take it and use a rolling pin to roll it out flat. So I got my rolling pin now, and I'm going just to roll this out. And I'm just trying to make it fairly even. Not an exact science, but I'm just going to make it kind of just the same height all the way around. And I mean, this is just a kind of a big guesstimation, but just do it by feel. If you've ever worked with dough, then you can probably get a better idea. If you made a pizza before, then you may know how to do this already, just to get an even crust, so to speak. But I'm just rolling it out, and I'm going to try to shoot for a thickness of maybe like 1/8 of an inch, give or take. I don't really have an exact measurement for it, so let me pull it off slowly. And some of it's going to stick. I mean, that's normal, but for the most part, it's not going to stick. And this thickness looks like it's pretty good. And what I'll do now is I'll take a knife and I'll just cut it into, into squares, or like I've got a cutter somewhere. I don't know where it's at right now, but I've got a cutter that just press down on there and it cuts out little squares. And then with this, I'll take it and put it out in the sun if it's a sunny day. If it's not a sunny day, then I'll put it in the oven, like just on warm. Like you don't even want it at a temperature, because you just want it just to heat it up a little bit and let it dry out faster. You don't want to cook it though, because we don't. I've cooked it before and it just makes a big. It's gross. Just don't do it. Just let it dry out really good and make sure it's super dry. And then once it's dry, you can break it apart, and we'll make another video of that when we get to that. So that's it. That's pretty much how you do it. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and let me know. And we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.